Reeve, we are ready to go.
Wonderful, thank you. Good morning, everybody. We will call the meeting to order. Council is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is now open for public attendance in person. However, councillors and members of the public may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. If you've submitted a comment request, the chair will call on you at the appropriate time. The chair may also ask for comments and concerns from the public relating to a particular topic, and at this time, phone lines will be unmuted. If you would like to speak, please state your name. We ask that only one member of the public speak at a time. All persons will be allotted 10 minutes to speak as per our procedural bylaw. We ask that if the meeting recesses, that any callers hang up and call back in as the meeting reconvenes. This helps with call quality. Please note this call is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website and or social media. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone during the meeting. Everyone has a right to be present at council meetings and council committee meetings. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair as per the MGA Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. And because of the hybrid nature of our meeting today, we will conduct a roll call. Reeve Link is present. Deputy Reeve Scott Clausen.
Present.
Councillor Wilson.
Present.
Councillor Brigger.
Present.
Councillor Eichert.
Present.
Councillor Kester.
Present.
Councillor Armstrong.
I'm here.
Thanks, everybody. Due to the hybrid nature of today's meeting, we will modify our voting procedure. We will vote by exception. I will call for any councillor who is opposed to the motion to indicate verbally. For any motions with expressed opposition, we will conduct a roll call vote. We have an agenda before us. Does anybody have any changes or additions?
Good morning, Reeve Link. Brian from Administration. Administration is requesting to remove item 2.1.2, Bylaw 2021-21, the master fee schedule. We are going to bring that back to the October 5th meeting. Thank you.
So we will remove 2.12, Bylaw 2021-21. Any other additions or changes?
I'll move the agenda as amended.
Councillor Kester has moved. Any discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We have the minutes from the regular council meeting of September 7th, 2021. Any errors or omissions?
Councillor Armstrong, I'll move them as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Any discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We also had the minutes from the Wheatland County public hearing of September 7th, 2021.
I'll move the minutes. Councillor Eichert for the...
Councillor Eichert has moved. Any discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.11, Bylaw 2021-28, Joint Regional Assessment Review Board.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Reeve Link, we have a 9 a.m. appointment the president of the Strathmore-Wheatland County Christmas Hamper Society, to do a presentation to council.
Perfect. We will move to do that prior to the bylaw reading then. Good morning. Marilyn, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Good morning. If you can just state your name, and we would love to hear your presentation.
My name is Marilyn Galvin, and I'm chair of the Strathmore-Wheatland County Christmas Hamper. I know you have this in front of you, so it's kind of hard to read it, being I know you're reading with me. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you for your past donations. I understand you're quite supporters of this Christmas hamper. So I've been asked to give you a little presentation here on where we're at and our vision going forward. This year, as always, in the past years, our kickoff is November 12th, which is always after Remembrance Day.
Muy buenos días, Industrial Ferrer, ¿con quién tengo el gusto?
Pardon? Hello?
Sir, if you could please mute your phone.
Do I continue?
Yes, please, Marilyn. Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. I will provide to you people and everyone at the Wheatland County that wants documentation. I'm hoping that you will post after November 12th on your website and all your social media, especially posters of how to apply and all of that. So let me just start. Last year was kind of a crazy year, as everybody knows. And we had to do some things that were out of the norm from the previous years. And one of those things were having volunteers in. I know this was upsetting to some, and I don't blame them, because they volunteered, for years. And we tried to get as many as we could of those people in. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the kids, the groups, only for the outdoor events. But how I did it was creating a bubble in different areas that allowed as many as we could get in to volunteer. We're going to try to stick to that this year, maybe make the bubble a little larger, but at least till this, COVID does settle down. One thing that is really, I think is really important to bring in some of the sports teams and the high school kids. I know in the past they've been a big part of helping the Christmas hamper. And the biggest thing to me, though, is promoting them for the future to get involved. That is one thing that we need to focus on at this time, because we do have a lot of seniors, and it's written some younger generations, because it's getting harder and heavier. But with all that said, we do have some goals this year. And I know it's reading 260 foods and 300 toys. That was our goal, but were able to have the budget done before this, just yesterday. And our numbers, with the budget, of course, is all about numbers. So right now, for sure, at least 250 food hampers and 295 toy hampers. We definitely have the capabilities to do more. So let's hope that it's at the 260 and 330. Speaking with the members from Food Bank and some other areas that provide for help through the churches and that, they feel that the numbers are going to be up this year, as their numbers are already on the uprise. Again, it all depends on our provincial and the federal governments, I guess, with their assistance. Last year, I think at that time, at Christmas time, was a shock to a lot, with employment being lost and sickness and all of that stuff. I do think it took a while for the impact of that to settle in for some people. So it was after the Christmas hamper that they started feeling that. And I do know personally that some of them was pride that stopped them from asking for help. So this is one of the reasons I'm asking, like yourself and like the town, public people involved with all this, to please let your people know that there is no shame and that we do everything in our power to maintain confidentiality. That is my background, which is database management and marketing. So I'm well aware of how to try to maintain the confidentiality in anything. One thing that I'm going to promote this year is try to get out as much as possible how to apply for this, which I think we didn't. I haven't seen that as a big promote thing in the years past that I can find. So this will really help in maybe getting more people that really do need it to call. I can share with you last year as far as the actual food donations were down. As you can see, 10,000 or 17%. Toy donations were down. However, our cash donations were up. And that was due to, well, I'd like to take a little bit of that credit, due to COVID, of course, people like yourself, donations. But we did get some new players aboard our fundraising efforts. That was proved to be profitable to us. A good $8,500 of that was due to that. Let's see here. So in the previous years, another thing that I think was a big plus, and I think we should stick to it because of COVID and not sure how things are going to go with that, is that we did purchase $10 coupons for family in lieu of a lot of the stuff we used to hand out, like the perishables, the milk, the cheeses, carrots, potatoes, things like that, breads. And anyways, we did these coupons this year in lieu of that, and the response, the return back on them, like I said, there 920 coupons were handed out, only 807 were used. Is still a pretty high percentage of what was used, but we'd like to get that up higher. So we want to promote that a little more too. And the feedback we did get back was a positive one on that, and the fact that there is no wasted food because people aren't going to buy what they eat, So I think that worked out good. That the executive meeting, we did put into place standards to maintain hamper values, which was always based on, that I can see, of just what was donated in that. But we can, play with that a little bit every year based on donations that have come in. So we're going to try to do it, hampers that are estimated at an average normal family's food consumption in each month. Toy hampers are based on donations, of course, what we get in, along with the information given at time of applying. Now, we do spend our money, a fair bit of our money is spent, especially from the age category 12 to 17. We get a lot of toys for the younger ones, which is great, but we do gift cards, and we do like toiletries in a sense, like deodorant packets, something a 15, 16, 17-year-old would use versus toys. So these things we don't get a lot of it donated, and we need to purchase it. So that's where some of this money goes. And this year, we were able to buy, they needed some, definitely needed some safety equipment, along with other various supplies going forward that was making it harder to do. Our representation now out in the public will look a little nicer too, which they were using boxes, paper boxes, decorated up into Christmas paper, which was nice until they got torn and things like that. So we did purchase some more of the cages to submit to collection areas. Our 2021 dates are almost finalized. The only thing we're working on is, like I said earlier, we had some new people come in as for the fundraisers, which was very nice. So we're hoping that we can team up with them again this year. So we're working on that. So I really don't have anything solid to tell you there, but I will probably at the AGM possibly. And that's really it. I just want to say that I would like to invite you for asking me to speak on behalf of the Christmas hamper, and also, very big thank you for your ongoing financial support. And I do want to mention, Lynn, because she has been a big part of our growth here and now and in the future with the executive team. I'd also like to let you know that we are having our AGM at your facility there on October 4th at 7 p.m., and you're all more than welcome to attend. It would be wonderful to have some people attend and learn a little bit more about us and what we do. With that said, all I can say is thank you. I don't know if anyone has any questions or things I can answer, or how does this work?
Well, Marilyn, we so appreciate you joining this morning. Thank you so much. We appreciate the information, and we genuinely appreciate the work that you and your board and all of the volunteers that contribute to the Christmas hamper, all of the work that you do. And I know that you make a really significant difference for families in our region. So on behalf of council, thank you. And in terms of the request around sharing dates and information about the hamper, I think I speak on behalf of council that we would be happy to do that. We've done it in the past, and so we'll share that through social media and whatever kind of other modes of communication that our communication specialist determines. Does anybody have any questions for Marilyn?
Yeah, through the chair, just Ben Armstrong, just one curious, do you track with those coupons, those vouchers that you give out, do you track the ones that don't get used and as to why they don't get used?
No, we can't do that due to confidentiality on who's receiving them. Like they're just put into every hamper.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, Marilyn. It's Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
These coupons you give out, you said they weren't all cashed in. Do they have an expiry date, or
yes, they do.
Good. Okay. So
yes, they do.
They get lost or misplaced. Or...
Yeah, they expire the end of January. Is what they do. The ones we gave out last year, where there was no extra because of my inexperience and not really knowing how much I could spend on them and stuff like this. Last year was taking the place of us buying it ahead of time and handing it out. So it was nothing extra that they received. It was the norm of within a hamper, where now I understand how this all works. By the end of December, hopefully we can help them a little bit more even, and we'll do that via the Sobeys coupons. Like instead of the 40, which is only replacing the perishables we would have put in, maybe they'll have an extra $10 too. I guess I should have told you that earlier.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Marilyn? Motion to accept the presentation as information.
It's Donna here, also move.
Thanks, Donna. Any questions? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. And then CAO Henderson, if you can just help me out. I know that we had some funding for the Christmas hamper in our budget, but I think we were looking for a motion to approve that by council, or for council to consider approving that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So in the operating budget, we had put aside $3,300 for the Wheatland and Strathmore Christmas Hamper Society.
Council's wishes on the funding.
I would move that we would provide funding to the Christmas hamper and the amount of $3,300 and whatever else it was. I didn't catch it all there, Brian.
Nope, that was correct. 3,300.
Okay, even? Good. Yeah,
So
I'll make that a motion.
Councillor Kester has moved to approve the funding. Any discussion or questions? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. Marilyn, thank you so much, and our administration will be in touch to get the funds to your organization.
Well, thank you all very much, and you all have a wonderful day.
You too. I won't say Merry Christmas yet, but
No, not yet. Please don't.
have a wonderful autumn first, and we know a lot of work will go into this over the coming months. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And now we'll move to 2.11, Bylaw 2021-28.
Good morning, Council. Tracy from Corporate and Financial Services. In 2015, through an agreement, the county joined a joint regional assessment review board that includes the town of Strathmore, Village of Rockyford, Village of Standard, and Hazard. In July of 2020, the Village of Acme also joined. The county's current bylaw outlines hearings for the county only. The proposed bylaw outlines hearings for the county and other municipalities that are participating in the joint regional board and provides overarching legislation for the agreement. The bylaw, drafted in collaboration with Municipal Affairs, is intended to be approved by all municipalities participating in the regional board. I would like to draw your attention to page 25, section 5.1, second line that says one may is key there, be a councillor appointed by resolution at its annual organizational meeting. So this was put in for the smaller municipalities that have a hard time attracting members. Each municipality needs to supply 3. So I wanted to draw your attention to it because we could leave as is because there's a may in there, or remove it, or at the end in our bylaw add to attend hearings at other municipalities. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that our councillors attend our hearings, but if councillors are interested in taking the training and attending hearings at other municipalities, I know that would certainly help out with issues they may have of attracting members. Any thoughts on that?
What's everybody's thoughts on how it's currently worded or doing an amendment?
I'll make a recommendation, and that after where it says appointed by resolution at its annual organization meeting, comma, to attend hearings at other municipalities.
Yeah, I would prefer that for sure.
Okay.
Anybody else have thoughts?
Well, that makes sense, actually.
I don't have an issue with it. That's
Okay, so it sounds like we have consensus. I don't hear anybody objecting to leaving that in there, Tracy, and then going with your recommendation to just add the clause at meetings outside of their municipality or something. You worded it slightly better, but that gist, so that they would not be sitting in on meetings pertaining to like our own municipality.
Yep, that's correct. So your first resolution will read that council provide first reading of the Joint Regional Assessment Review Board's bylaw 2021-28 as amended.
Perfect. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? I guess questions first. We don't have a motion on the floor regarding the bylaw.
I'll put it on the floor if you want somebody to put it on the floor.
Councillor Armstrong is going to move. You're moving first reading?
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect. Open for debate. Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. Council's wishes for second reading?
Donna here, also move.
No.
Councillor Bigger has moved second reading. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. Permission to hold third reading?
Councillor Eichert will move grant to hold third and final reading.
Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Council's wishes for third reading.
I'll move third reading.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
We will move to 2.4 on page 73, Council Resolution Tracker.
Good morning, Council. Brian from Administration. So on page 73 of your agenda packages is the Council Resolution Tracker. As always, anything in green I have deemed complete. Anything in yellow is still outstanding. If there are any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the tracker? Motion to accept as information?
So moved.
Was that Councillor Armstrong?
No, Glenn finished it. I didn't.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Kester, any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.42.
Yes, Council. So Brian again from Administration. On page 81 of your agenda package is a follow-up to a previous resolution, the Legislative Policy Section 5. There's an amendment to the meal cap and also payroll. So to try to be consistent and get the legislation or legislative pay consistent on a month-to-month basis instead of fluctuating, what administration is recommending is that timesheets be submitted on the 8th day of the month, and for the payroll to be deposited on the 15th day of the following month. So instead of having sometimes getting deposited on the 9th or 14th, it'll always get deposited on the 15th, just to bring some consistency to the payroll schedule. And then the other proposed amendment in the package, or in the policy, is just having a meal cap of $60 for councillors, and that's with or without a receipt. So what that does is it does put a control in for council and future councils for the maximum amount that would be reimbursed for a meal. And then another amendment that administration brought forward based on council discussion, which can be removed at council's discretion, is the meal expenses for networking at conferences. So everything else in the policy would be consistent. Everything would remain. It would have to stay within the operating budget of the year. However, the reeve or designated at their discretion may purchase a meal for another council at their discretion. All proposed changes are to take effect October 31st, 2021. So the policy, all those changes that I just discussed can be found on page 81, just in the body of the request for decision. And then the policy itself can be found on page 84 with all amendments to the policy in red and track changes. If there are any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the amendments to the policy?
Councillor Armstrong, I'll move the amendments to the policy section 5.1.1, elected officials enumeration related to councillor meal cap and payroll submission and pay date.
Councillor Armstrong has moved. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? The motion is carried. We'll move to 2.43, land assessment for proposed lodge.
So this was added to the agenda. There was no body of the document. However, this was added from a request from Councillor Eichert. And Councillor Eichert, I'll let you take the floor. Thank you.
Yes. Just going through the lodge has made the building committee has made an ask of the province for $23 million, and which is half of the cost of the existing the build with the new lodge beds and the SL4 units. Part of the ask, and so I'm just trying to figure out, we need to get a budgetary number together, and the number that the lodge has been using on their deal is $1.715 million, but that assessment's based on 9 acres of land. So the lodge is actually sitting on, I believe, 4.7 or 4.9 acres, and we need to get an assessment for the amount of land, because part of that land looks like it would be worth quite a bit of money. That's especially once the lodge is there. So I'm pretty sure the town's not going to be donating the whole 9 acres to the lodge, the new lodge site. So I'd like to direct administration to work with the town to provide a professional, independent assessment of the lands that'll be required for the new building site. So that's basically what because I don't think it's going to be, we need a budget number for coming up for the county. And if we're only using half the land or a little bit over half of the land on that, I think we just need to get to know what it is.
So, Councillor Eichert, would you be looking for our council to be requesting the town do like an objective third-party assessment on that, or is that something you would be looking for us to do? Just trying to think of process to get there.
Well, I think the town has to, our administration has to talk to the town, and maybe all I've got is that one assessment package that they sent, but that is for the whole 9 acres. So maybe they've done the work and they've got it separated off, but it definitely isn't. It definitely doesn't reflect on the price, because it's very important that we know exactly how much money we have so that we can put the numbers together when we're trying to get our share of the $23 million.
perhaps just a motion directing our administration to work with Town of Strathmore administration to see if that information is available or if it could be made available for our kind of determination of our capital investment.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect.
Any questions from council?
I have a question. Sorry.
Yep, please go ahead, Councillor Custer.
Would it be appropriate? I know we hire engineers to review submissions made to the county for development, whatnot. In some ways, I don't see this much different if Strathmore, through their whatever procedures they're used to determine a value for the land, we hire our own person to make recommendations to council on valuations of property for monetary reserves when we do subdivisions, municipal reserves. Would it be appropriate to ask that person that we trust for our municipal reserves to preview or review the documentation that the town would provide, just to give council a level of comfort that somebody's looking at it? I think that would be, I'm thinking for me, that's somebody we know, instead of just going out and hiring another assessor to give us a valuation. And I think that would become more consistent on the way we do business. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. And also the town of Strathmore, I haven't heard that they had to do boundary adjustments for this property. I think there was maybe 3 properties involved. And I think they have to do boundary adjustments. I don't know if they're done yet or not either. So, and I'm not sure if the town knows. We're not 100% sure how much land we need until the province engages with us either. So I don't know exactly what the timeline or the scheduling is. And one other thought I'll throw out there, Tom mentioned budget. I would think, for me, that this wouldn't be a budgetary item. It would be a withdrawal from reserves. We've been saving for different things in the county. I would just think it would come from reserves, and we wouldn't be collecting taxes for it. Like in the current year, to come up with the full value, I think that would be prudent use of reserves. So yeah, that's my feelings on some of them issues.
Councillor Eichert, I don't know if you want to respond, or my only thought is I did hear Councillor Eichert just, I think it might not be a bad idea just to ask the town first before we potentially spend money on sort of one of our contractors, only because we don't want to necessarily duplicate. I see what you are saying about kind of confirming that independently from our perspective, but I think what I heard Councillor Eichert say is that we haven't had an assessment, and recognizing what you're saying, Councillor Kester, as well, that there may be some uncertainty about the exact footprint at this point. But what I heard Councillor Eichert say was the original valuation of the land that we were provided was for a larger parcel than I think is what is being considered right now. So the town may already have sort of an amended valuation that they've done that we could start with, or an assessment that they have done. I don't know, Councillor Eichert, is that consistent with what you understand or what you were saying?
Yeah, it'd be logical to assume that the assessment that the town has provided is for 9 acres. So this this assessment, the building site is approximately 5 acres. So theoretically, it should be substantially less money than what the 1.7 million is. Now, I don't care how this gets done. I just think that number has to be firmer than what it is, just so that we do not want to be caught in the situation where we're building a building that costs 46 and we're coming up, we all of a sudden have to come up with another couple of $1 million because we don't have the quote unquote collateral that we thought we had. So I just want everything firm here so that we have solid numbers that we can start, going to the banks and saying this is what the actual number is, as opposed to, because they're going to ask that question. They're going to say, but that's on 9 acres and the town's not giving up the whole 9 acres. So what is the actual number? And I just want to get this done right away here. So, and I don't care what the process is. I just think we have to know what that number is. And I mean, maybe that 5 acres is worth the substantial, the largest part of that, and the rest of the land isn't worth anything. I don't know. That's outside of my realm. All I know is that if I'm looking at an assessment for 9 acres and the building is for 5 acres, we have to get that number. I think we just have to get that number to where it's in a ballpark, and I don't think we're in the ballpark. That's all.
Just Brian from administration, kind of a path forward that I may see to kind of get a more accurate number. I could reach out to either the town or Vicky from the WHMB and determine if there is a lot size for the proposed new build. And then what we could do is we could put a placeholder in the budget, the operating budget for 2022, just have it funded from unallocated surplus. We definitely do need to include that number into the budget. And then we just need to offset it with a revenue. So the revenue would be a transfer from reserve if that's the way council would like to proceed with that one. And we can go from there.
That sounds excellent to me.
Yeah, and I think that leaves it open to both comments from Councillor Eichert and Councillor Kester, because if through administration work with the administration of the Housing Board and with the town of Strathmore, if there were further work that we need to do, you can always bring that back in response to Councillor Kester's comments. And then it at least gets the ball rolling with the administrations working together. So I think that is a great path forward. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Eichert, did you put a motion on the floor? If you could refresh my memory, my apologies.
Well, what I put on the floor was I direct administration to work with the town to provide a professional and independent assessment of the lands needed for the new lodge site. Does that work?
Would you consider a friendly amendment just to include the administration of the Wheatland Housing Management body?
Certainly.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.44.
Good morning, Council. Russ Muntrath with Transportation and Agriculture. I have an RFD for attendance to the 2021 South Region Agricultural Service Board Conference. It's being held October the 6th in Cardston County. There wasn't an agenda ready at time of doing up the RFD. I do have it now, so I'll send that out. Registration costs are $45 a person. With the changes, though, with COVID, the conference they're thinking of moving ahead with it under the restrictions exemption program, as well as having a teleconference option as well. So it looks like it'll possibly be a hybrid meeting. We're just waiting to hear confirmation on that, though. So I would like to, if folks are wanting to attend, to know so I can register by September the 28th if possible. That is the same day as our next scheduled Agricultural Service Board meeting. And I do have a follow-up resolution in regards to that to change the date of that meeting. So that's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you, Russ. So you would be looking for a resolution just to approve attendance for ASB board members who are able to attend?
Yes, ASB board members and administration, and I'll send out the agenda here right away this morning as well.
Perfect. Council's wishes.
Councillor Armstrong, I'll approve the recommendation that for the attendance of the Ag Service Board, for their board members and the administration for the South Region Ag Service Board Conference in Carson County.
Councillor Armstrong has moved. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.45.
Yes, so as I mentioned, the next Agricultural Service Board meeting scheduled for October the 6th. So I would like to change that meeting date to November the 10th if possible, so we can accommodate the South Region Conference. With the election as well, I thought it would be a good opportunity to do the organizational meeting at that November 10th meeting rather than waiting till January. And I think I'll also take that opportunity to do a orientation for the board as well at that time. Thank you.
Yes, I'll move that we reschedule the Ag Service Board meeting to November the 10th.
And I do have another commitment that morning, but I will see if it's possible to reschedule that. There is a chance I may not be able to attend, but I will absolutely do what I can to be there. So, any questions or discussion on the motion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.46, offer to purchase land.
Good morning, Council. Brad Bullock presenting. So the WID at the section noted, the quarter section northwest, 24, 26, 24 west of 4. They are completing some rehabilitation of the irrigation canal in that area, and the county owns some small parcels of land which they have asked to purchase some small sections of those land in order to facilitate the rehabilitation. And they are offering a cash payment of $630, which is $3,000 an acre. While they're doing that, they have offered to also install a domestic turnout from the irrigation there for use, which will make that land more attractive for sale by the county, potential sale, future sale by the county. And that's my report. If there's any questions.
Any questions from council?
I'll move the recommendation.
Deputy Reeve Clausen has moved. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.47.
Good morning again. Brad Bullock presenting the RFD. So this is one that came in front of council previously, and administration was asked to come forward with additional information. and it's regarding the Urban Access Road 133, otherwise known as Township 263, into Rockyford. And so the situation here is this was a road that was maintained and developed some decades ago by Alberta Transportation. Over the years, they have started to turn, there was a number of urban access roads around the province, and they've been turning those over to the counties for maintenance. This is one of the last ones still to get turned over, and in process of doing the turnover, they are upgrading the road and repaving it before turning it over to the county. And so after the work that they're doing now, they plan to cease maintenance of that, in which case it'll fall to the hands of the county to continue to maintain. So probably calling it a turnover is a bit of misnomer. The county is responsible for this road. AT is just at this point stopping maintaining the road. So it'll become the responsibility of the county to do that.
Any questions from council?
Just a comment. I was very small when they put that road in. And I remember it was a big issue in the town and the surrounding. They didn't know where they were going to put the Highway 21. And at one time it was going to be at the Rocky Ford Road that we call it now, the county road. And it would go through Carbon. But instead the province put it where it is, and they put the road that goes through Carbon as a provincial highway. And they were requested to include the Rocky Ford Road, which is right across the Highway 9 from it, as provincial highway. And they didn't do that, but instead they put in this access road. Because when you look around the province, just about every municipality has a provincial highway through it, like Standard does and Hazard does. And this was Rocky Ford's to make them equal with everyone. So I just thought I'd throw that in as a tidbit. They've also replaced another culvert that was in bad shape and doctored up a couple other ones and milled the whole road and paved it. Yeah, it's never been so smooth. It's almost as good as our county roads. But yeah. So I'll make a motion that we accept the report as information.
Thank you, Councillor Custer. Any questions or discussion on the motion?
I've got a question for administration. So when we pave a road, so we just paved 240 in the last couple of years, how much do we put aside in reserves for that road? Because that road is going to have to be replaced down the road. Down the road, yeah. Good one, Tom.
Yes, so through the chair. So right now, we do have some money set aside in our paved road reserve. What we're doing right now is we're building up our asset management program. So that asset management program will really tell us the amounts that we need to put aside in the future. So that program is being built up as we speak. So on an annual basis, we do put money away into reserves. We restrict that internally so that it can be moved around. However, we'll have a more accurate picture and probably at the end of next year.
Okay, so what happens if we just, at this point in time, refuse to take back this road and force, I understand that they've paved it and all that kind of stuff, but if they gave us, I just think about the Eastern Irrigation District where the CP put in millions and millions of dollars, and when they put it up for sale, they thought they'd get money for it, and the guy that bought it got $5 million. And because this is going to cost us money down the road. Right now, it's not going to cost us anything, but it's definitely going to cost us money. So if the government were to sweeten that they want this off their hands, and they just have to pay us more money to do it, because I think we're taking on a liability, and we should get paid for that liability. My thoughts.
I think my interpretation of GM Bullock's report and explanation was that this route is already just that last line in his report. The route is already designated as a local road under the ownership and control of Wheatland County. I don't know if GM Bullock, if you have further response to that. I don't know that we have an option to not assume responsibility of maintenance.
How did that happen?
That's our understanding. Finding documentation on this has been challenging, so we have been relying on people at AT who have been there for a couple of decades and know the history of it. But our understanding is that it was turned over back at the time when Alberta Transportation took over all of the provincial highways and then released control of all of the other roads. And so our understanding is technically it has been the responsibility of Wheatland since that time. However, they have continued maintenance of the road. That said, hard documentation on that has been difficult to find, and so we've been going by conversations with people at AT that have been there for some time.
Well, through the chair, and Glenn, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but over the years we've worked with Alberta Transportation for the maintenance on this road, and they've done it for years, as like you said. And we've worked with them, and we've asked them if they resurface it, if they change the culverts, if they do this. It was an agreement if they got all that done that we would take over the maintenance of it. They did turn it over years back. It's our road, and they've said they're not going to maintain it. And if they don't maintain it and something happens, the ratepayers are going to come back to us and say, and if we say if it's province and they phone the province, they'll say, no, it's not ours, it's the county's road. Go talk to them. So
well, there's got to be
it's our road.
Paperwork here somewhere. You just can't,
It's our road. We've
Yeah,
go ahead, Glenn.
There's something else too, Ben. We've talked to the Minister of Transportation about this road for a number of years prior, and we keep saying, how can you do this and how can you do that? And he says, well, we're going to pave it up for you and give it to you. And we said, well, it's still not our road. And he flat out says, well, I could give it to you right now.
Yep.
In the condition that it was.
Well, I understand.
So that was our option.
I understand.
We don't have an option.
There's got to be some sort of an agreement here. I mean, you just can't willy-nilly, and if there's not an agreement, ask for an agreement, and the new agreement is, at least I want to see some paperwork that actually says this. I mean, we didn't build the road. Somebody else built the road.
But they built the road in the past, that road was put in there because of pressure from the community to get access to Rocky Ford from the main highway. You go back far enough, that's what you'll find out, and they'll say, well, you guys asked for the road, so we helped you build it. Now we're giving it back to you. So
they spent $5 million to put a road in.
No, they didn't spend that much.
Okay, but in today's money, they would have spent $5 million to put that road in. More than that, because there was not a road in there, as I understand it. And there is no agreements. This is just going to be people said so. I mean, this is sad. Can't continue. So I would like to see a letter from the Alberta government, AT, telling us when this was done, and then from there, then we open up negotiations for there that are we going to take this on? They are doing this road, therefore they are. If they're doing the maintenance on the road, they have maintained that they are owning the road. Because if they didn't do maintenance on the road, that would mean it's our road. But they're doing maintenance on the road, because I don't believe we have any other county roads that they do maintenance on for us. So that is their road. I don't care how you slice it. So we need a letter from these guys, what the conditions are for us taking this road over now. And if we're going to have conditions, I think we should ask them for money for the reserve so that this thing doesn't cost us money down the road. That's simple. This is going to cost us money.
Something else you should know, when I was talking to the engineer, I've owned land on this side of this road, and they wanted to take out an approach, one of my approaches, and they would replace it with an approach on the county road. And they said just to make it safer. Well, anyway, this approach was put in also for a gas company to have a well there. And the gas company signed a land deal for the well, right? And the access agreement off of this road was signed by Wheatland County. Now this well is got to be, without going back into my record, it's got to be 15, 20 years old. And then what that tells me is always been, as Brad was explaining, the county's road. They've just been they have just been doing the maintenance. And I just, knowing some of the talks we've had with the minister and how abrupt he got, like, we know it's our road. They're not going to give us anything. And if we harass them anymore, I'm just concerned it could future relations with AT. I don't know. There's no way around it. And that being said, and then Brian previously said he's finishing the asset management thing and can try and figure out how long this road is good for. When we started paving roads in the county, after a lot of thought, we paved roads on the advice or on the assumption that these roads would more than pay for themselves after 20 or 25 years. So when you do the asset management thing, Brian, you'll have a cost for gravel roads, I'm thinking, and what it costs to maintain them in a year over the course of 25 years. And we could compare it to the cost of paving this road, and if it lasts the 25 years, which is the better deal? Is it better to have gravel? Is it cheaper? Or is it cheaper to, if you can afford the upfront money, to pave it? I think that would be a valuable number for councils. Thanks for that.
Something else, and I'm not saying I agree with everything Alberta Transportation does, but a few years back, there was a lot of years we were responsible for the maintenance and the construction of secondary highways, the 3 numbered highways in the county, and we did, and it was a shared cost with the government, and I think our share on most of that was 25%. So all those secondary roads that have pavement and dirt work and everything else on them, we had to pay 25% of that to get any money out of the government to help us with those roads, and we maintained them. We did the maintenance on them for years and years. They came in and took that all back. So we've been able to take that funding that we've historically put into those roads and put it into our other roads and our other maintenance, and because of it, we were able to downsize our construction crew by a couple of buggies because we didn't need them for those secondaries. They took up a lot of our time through the summer building secondary highways throughout our this jurisdiction. So yeah, maybe what you're saying may be right, but we have made money by them taking back the secondaries also and spreading that money over the general taxpayer of the province with any work done on them. So I think in the end we're not going to lose anything on it. We're going to be the beneficiary of it. And we probably won't need to do much more than sanding and graveling on that road once they finish their paving project on there and the culverts for the next 15 years before we have to do anything major to it. So.
Yeah. And also, Ben, we tried to make a deal with the province that if they paved, was it the 561 or the 8 out there in the Chancellor country?
Yeah.
That we would take it over if they paved it.
Yep.
And this is the same deal, right?
Yep. Yeah, the 840 or 842, whatever they call that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the deal we had made with them, but they still haven't got a bite on that one. So I don't have a problem. It's just accepting it for information.
So, if I could chime in here, all this was prior to us paving a road through Rocky Ford. that was never paved before. It was a chip seal road a long time ago, and we've invested millions into a road. Now another road's going into a municipality that's going to have 3 points of access that never had before. So that we're going to be on the hook for all 3 of them. I'm with Tom. This road could be gravel really right now for the amount of traffic it's going to see. There's no residents that actually live directly on this road. I would have rather seen that paving go on to those roads out by Chancellor and stuff. Would have been way more value for the dollar. We've had lands in some of these long forgotten hamlets that the government's trying to give us because it's an asset they're trying to clear off the book, and they're going to give us a road with no paperwork. I don't believe it. We need to see some documentation. This is a $15 million asset in a couple of years that's going to have to be repaved at some point. And it's going to be on our residents to pay for this to a hamlet that's not ours. Or, sorry, not even a hamlet. It's a village that has its own governance. And the traffic counts on there would be very minimal. So I think we need to do some more research into this.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept for information. We could consider a motion arising following that if there is, just for council consideration, if there are councillors who would like more information. Just a question to administration. I would assume that if we were looking at, if we looked at this as an asset being transferred, I'm assuming that the province may see, particularly with the current work that's been done on it, and I recognize the concerns raised by councillors about sort of the practical value, but there would be a financial asset value to the road as well, I'm assuming, in addition to the liability that we would be assuming for long-term maintenance and upgrading. Like maintenance, I mean on a seasonal basis, but also maintaining the integrity of the road.
Yes, Reeve, Brian from administration. So there is a line in our financial statements called contributed assets. So typically we'll get contributed assets from a developer who's developing a subdivision, and we assume the responsibility for a road leading up to those houses. So this one would be very similar, actually. And also another example of contributed assets would be the Lakes of Muirfield subdivision in 2020. That was actually a very large contribution of assets. So this one would be very similar. So we would determine how much the cost of the improvements are, and we'd add them. It's kind of a non-financial transaction, but we do add those assets to our books. There would be no liability recorded by any means. However, the asset management system, once up and running, will tell us kind of how much we need to put aside on an annual basis to repair those. I do, just a note, prior to assuming, I do think it would be responsible of administration to gather some documentation on the transfer of road and just kind of see where we're at. It does seem kind of odd that there is no official documentation behind this transfer. However, we can reach out to Alberta Transportation and try to get something together for council's consideration.
That sounds great. So let's deal with the motion that's on the floor regarding accepting this as information, and then perhaps council could consider putting a second motion on the floor, just requesting that administration collect, I'm sure administration can word the resolution better, but just collect the documentation regarding this transfer, like the historical documentation regarding this transfer. Any further discussion or questions on the current motion on the floor? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. And would a councillor like to put a second motion on the floor?
It's Councillor Eichert. I'll make a motion that we direct administration to collect historical documentation about the transfer of the road to the county, and whatever else you require on that.
Any questions or discussion regarding Councillor Eichert's motion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.48. This was a resolution that was drafted in response to Councillor Custer's request to bring a resolution forward to RMA. We did have a resolution deadline of September 15th, and so this was circulated via email, but we are looking for a motion to ratify the submission. It was forwarded, and we do have a seconder who has agreed to second the resolution for us. And the resolution committee did review it this morning, actually.
Yes, Amber, I'll make a motion that council ratify the submission of the emergency capacity.
Perfect.
I'll let you finish up.
Yeah, just the EMS capacity and service delivery in rural Alberta. This is obviously just in response to sort of the critical state of EMS, particularly in rural areas outside of the major metropolitan areas. I know we're impacted by, obviously, resources being drawn into Calgary, and there's many, many other municipalities that experience the same. And there's certainly impacts to sort of patient care and public safety. Councillor Custer has a motion on the floor. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.1, correspondence and information items. So there is correspondence from the Strathmore Handy Bus, page 111.
A question.
You bet.
What is the status of our contribution to the handy bus? Did we? I believe we made a motion. I'm not.
I don't think we have a resolution. I'll let administration correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we have a resolution approving the contribution. We did approve it, like we did approve our current budget that did have a line item, but administration felt it prudent to get council direction to actually forward the contributions because we did not have a resolution on the books. I think going forward, there will be just a slight amendment to our budget process where when we're approving the budget, we would concurrently consider resolutions regarding these contributions so that we actually have resolutions directing administration to make the contributions. My understanding is we do not have that currently for the handy bus. So this amount was in our operating budget. Council would need to have a motion passed directing administration to make the contribution. We did have some conversation about this either at our last council meeting or the one prior to that, indicating, I believe, consensus from council, a majority of council supported requesting further information from, we received it this morning from the Christmas Hamper Society, and then the second outstanding item I think was from the handy bus. Following that meeting, the handy bus did present to Strathmore the Wheatland Regional Partnership at the meeting that evening. And so I guess this is some follow-up correspondence from them, and then it will be at council's discretion whether we would like to request that the handy bus present to council, or it's really at council's discretion how we deal with this going forward. We did not direct administration. Sorry, Councillor Armstrong, one moment. We did not direct administration to schedule the handy bus. And this is just going off my memory. I believe that was because they were scheduled to present to the Wheatland Regional Partnership. I believe it was the evening, the evening after that evening of our council meeting. So now it's up to us where we go from there. Go ahead, Councillor Armstrong. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was just information. They did do a presentation at the partnership, and there was some questions brought forward and some concerns. And the village of Rockyford asked for more clarification on the numbers to come back to the association or the partnership. My question is, what was our contribution last year? Was it this 10,000, or is this 10 what they're asking for this year with the increase?
Through the chair, so last year was a $10,000 donation.
Okay, so it's the same as what it was last year. Okay, thank you.
Question to administration. Is there a dollar amount for we take care of their vehicles for them, and we also provide office space for them? So is that's not like that's going to be over and above the 10,000 they're asking for?
Yes, that's correct. So I believe it was a recent council meeting. Sorry, I don't have it right on the tips of my. Oh, actually, I do. So on August 24th, council approved waiving Cbep fees for the first 6 months of the year of $4,350. We also do provide now effective, could have been July 1st, office space to the handy bus as well. So probably like a fair market value of that. So we provide a space, utilities, phone and internet, a landline, sorry, and internet for $1 kind of thing a year. So that probably would be around $1,000 a month. And then we also added them to our A&I insurance recently as well. Just kind of another thing that we do for the handy bus, just to kind of help them out with the service they provide. And then on top of that, a monetary donation on previous years at this point.
Yeah, and I think you confirmed this already, CAO Henderson, but you're tracking that and you'll be able to, like say at the end of the fiscal or like going forward at the end of each fiscal, you'll have like the in-kind value, like fair market value of those in-kind donations as well, just to track.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. So my very personal feeling on this after hearing the presentation from the handy bus and recognizing that there was a significantly larger ask from the handy bus representatives at the Wheatland Regional Partnership, my personal sense is that the $10,000 that we had in the budget is fairly in line with the data that has been presented so far, recognizing that there are some outstanding requests in terms of data from the handy bus board, and totally open to council perspectives on this.
So I was going to put a motion on the floor that we...
Councillor Armstrong, if you can just use your microphone.
I got the mic on now. Sorry. I'll put a motion on the floor that we support the what our budget has in it of the $10,000 and anything else that I know they asked for an increase, but there's some questions on that. That can be dealt with over the next year and vetted out and proven whether it's needed or whether it isn't needed. There was questions around the numbers, so I'll put the motion on the floor that we give them what's in the budget, which was similar to what it was last year.
So you'd be moving a contribution of $10,000 that was allocated in the budget?
Yeah.
Okay. Open the floor to questions or discussion.
Yeah, just a question. When we made that decision last year and then they set the budget this year, we weren't sure. Well, they weren't sure on accommodation. Since then, we've allowed them to stay. I was just curious if that's a strictly in-kind donation, or I know at the time we talked about taking it off of their cash donation.
I think with the current motion on the floor, the cash contribution would be in addition to all of the in-kind, so the office space, the Cbep, and allowing them to be the A&I on our insurance. So the motion is for an additional cash contribution.
As I understand it, the day, so we got the presentation, which I listened in via telephone with the Wheatland Regional. But they presented, Handy Bus presented the next day, I believe, to the town of Strathmore, which I have not watched. My question is whether, because I still don't know what the numbers are. I do not know how many people are actually using this service, and how do I make that judgment unless they present in council here and tell me what the numbers are? If the numbers are 20 or 30, then this sort of makes sense. But if they're less than that, then we're looking at 10,000 plus another 15. We're looking at $25,000, and I have no idea how many people use this service.
I have no.
Reeve-Link?
I'm sorry.
Yes, was that Deputy Reeve Clausen?
Yeah, I forgot I should recuse myself from this discussion and decision, as I have a family member that's employed by the Handy Bus.
Sure. If you want to mute or something, we can text you when we're finished this.
Thank you.
Councillor Baker?
Yeah, I have no problem with the 10,000 for this year, but I would like to have a good presentation with better numbers, a good count, and I don't know how we can request that, but what the best way to do that procedure would be. But I'm okay with the 10,000 for this year, and I mean they are a new board. Maybe that history or giving some time together to figure out what their plan is and going forward, and then go in for an ask would be appropriate. But the numbers really jive when I listened to it. And there wasn't enough.
Councillor Bigger, I see what.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And there just wasn't enough information.
Yeah, there were some challenges with the information for sure, and I know that we have been requesting some comprehensive data just regarding users and sort of residency of users, as well as just that kind of volume, those types of things. Just for clarification, my understanding is it's, not a new board, but there's been some operational changes with the transition from sort of being more under the town of Strathmore to a more autonomous organization. And I think there have been some challenges as that transition has happened. But I absolutely agree on a go-forward basis, we're going to need really fulsome, transparent information around financials and budgeting and user data, those types of things, so that we can be accountable to our taxpayers if we're supporting this service going forward. I absolutely agree. Any other questions or comments?
I'm just going to tell you I'll be voting against this because I do not have enough information, and I don't think it should be that big of a deal to get the information before you're asking me to vote. I'm voting blind here, and I refuse to do that, so I will be voting against this.
So that's a fair comment, and I don't know if I'd like to have some council discussion around that, because I certainly want everybody to feel that they're fully informed when making this decision. And we have had requests for data to the board previously, so we certainly have the option at this point. We don't need to address this today. I was just being mindful that we're nearing the end of our current council's term, where we're at in the fiscal year, where, all of those considerations. But I would be very comfortable. I'm not sure if Councillor Armstrong might consider withdrawing the motion. And obviously you don't have to. We can address it as well. But just in terms of, we could direct administration to, and we could give some very specific information that we're looking for, direct administration to request that the Handy Bus Board present specifically to council and answer some of those questions before we address this request. I don't know what council's thoughts are on that. I think it's really, really important that when we're considering a question, that we have all of the information that we require and that all of council has that.
Well, through the chair, I'm going to leave my motion stand, and I understand where Councillor Eichert is coming from, and I agree with him. My concern is more with the handy bus and their budget year and their budget cycle, and we're not giving them more than what we've given them in the past. We're matching what we've given them in the past, and the numbers we could have asked for those numbers last year, and we obviously didn't. We're asking for them now, so I think we give them time to put that together and bring them numbers forward so that it can be reviewed for next year. But I think in fairness to them, I think we move forward for now and let them explain themselves fully and accurately for the next time around, so that they understand that they may be in jeopardy of any financial support from council. But for now, I think I don't want to see them. No, it's good enough for now.
Question to Councillor Wilson.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of insight into, if I'm recalling correctly, some of the questions were just around sort of total users, percentage that lived in the county, those types of things. Have you gotten that information at Handy Bus Board meetings?
No, I have not been in any Handy Bus meetings, as I haven't been on the email list since Thomas Strathmore's taken off. So I can tell you. But
sorry,
the only
I don't think I knew that. So you haven't been being circulated as a board member with board meeting minutes or agendas or that type of thing?
No.
Okay. And did you have any correspondence outlining why that was?
Why? No.
Okay.
And just to further my reasons for being against the motion put forward by Councillor Armstrong, while he says that we didn't increase cash donation contribution to the organization, we did have a new hefty in-kind donation with office space, which would have been a heavy hitter on their financial budget on a normal year. So I can't support an in-cash donation of that extent. I would rather see the office space expense come out of that cash donation. So I think the $10,000 is too much.
Councillor Wilson, do you know when the last Handy Bus Board meeting that you were circulated, like an agenda or minutes or financial?
I'm actually I'm just looking that up.
I'm just asking, like, I really do see, like, from a governance perspective or a stewardship perspective, that it is key that, like, our board member representatives be kept abreast of that and obviously be included in board correspondence and meeting information and that type of thing. And the financials as well. I know we all have oversight responsibilities on the, where we do financial contributions and that type of thing.
June 6th was the last agenda I got.
Okay.
And I did send, both Jason and I did send an email and didn't get a reply back. I was in conversation with Jason at the time because I missed the June 6th, which is where they took Jason off the board, and I made sure that I wasn't part of that motion and Wheeling County was still on the board, and we said at that point that's the last conversation I've had with Jason.
And just to confirm with administration, I'm confident I know the answer to this, but we haven't received any correspondence from the Handy Bus Board indicating that we've been removed as a board member.
I have not received any correspondence of that nature, no.
And I can confirm that I haven't as well.
Well, through the chair, just for it's our choice to remove him from there without a written, unless we get a written, something in writing or a motion from their board removing him, and we haven't received anything like that, and we have put him on that board, so he's still on that board until our organizational, unless their board has a motion that says he isn't.
Absolutely, Councillor Armstrong. I'm a little bit concerned, just if, and maybe there hasn't been any meetings since the June 6th one, just if there hasn't been, like if our representative, if our board member isn't being circulated on agenda packages and that type of thing.
And that's why it was during the summer break, so I didn't expect to have a meeting then. So, and then August, I didn't get an email, and still haven't got an email for any September meeting.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on the motion on the floor?
Just one comment. At the regional partnership meeting, it was explained to everybody that the board has taken a different direction. They're not operating as it did in the past under Strathmore's direction. And some of the questions that were asked of them, they are gathering the numbers, but they only have, I don't know how many, half a year, or I don't think it's been a year yet of numbers. So they were collecting the numbers. They just don't have a year's worth of data yet. I don't know how much data they have, but there was requests for different numbers. So I'm hoping that they'll accommodate those requests. But I know in the past we've asked those requests and they haven't been forthcoming. Hopefully things have changed now.
Councillor Wilson, do you recall when the transition started, or I guess was finished, from the town to a more autonomous? And I don't completely understand how the governance works when they were more closely associated with the town, but do you know when that transition was finalized?
It would have been last fall, I want to say. We'd be coming up a year. I'm just trying to find the email. It'd be coming up on a year, probably a month, to be honest. Yeah, and just for clarification, we were under the town for employees. Our employees were under the town, and that's how it worked prior to the new move.
Yeah, even an estimate of around a year, that's helpful for me.
Yeah, I want to say it was last September, to be quite honest.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Like, I just estimate kind of ballpark. I couldn't remember exactly when that.
Yeah, I would say we're damn near a year. To be quite honest, Ross might be able to tell you because Vicky's been working for not a year by any means, but we posted her quite a while after we decided the mom to choose. I know last budget, we were in the process of deciding it, so that would be 2021, April 2020, we were debating which model to go with. So yeah, it would be last summer for sure. Last September, we would have knew which model we were going on.
Okay.
So,
any other questions?
through the chair to
go ahead.
administration or whatever, with my motion, I don't like the idea of withdrawing it because that sends a negative message. But would it be proper to just lay it aside till the 19th of October? That gives them a month to get the information together. The concerns that Tom has, the ridership and the rest of it, they should be able to have something put together for council at that time to and then ratify the motion, increase it, decrease it, whatever they. But rather than pull it off the table altogether, just move it, lay it aside until the night, because we do have a council meeting on October the 19th, do we not? No.
Through the chair, no, that one is not going forward just because of a municipal election. So election's on the 18th, and then the 19th would be the next day. So
when would the next one be then? November?
And just for clarification,
November 2nd?
We do have
February 1st.
Yeah, we do have a council meeting October 5th prior to the election.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that gives them enough time to get what they need together, does it?
Well, we did request it quite some time ago.
Alice phoned in during last, I want to say May, was it?
Yeah, there was a recent one, and then even prior to that, there had been a request for further information. Councillor Armstrong, in terms of your question, we absolutely have an option under our procedure bylaw 9.6. We can have a motion to postpone to a certain time or date. We also have the option under 9.9, motion to postpone indefinitely.
Yeah, I don't like that one. Postpone it till the 5th then. That gives them 2 weeks or a week and a half, and then let council make a decision at that time. At least then they know they have to put the numbers together fast. They're there. Those numbers are there. We've had them before. We've had ridership numbers every year that we've done. That's what we based some of that funding on before, was we always had a report in previous years on the ridership of who, which communities and how many from each community. I remember seeing them year after year, and I thought I saw one earlier this year somewhere. Oh.
I like that option just to give the board the opportunity to provide us with whatever information, and recognizing that it may be interim with some of the transition and that type of thing, but I really feel strongly that it's important that everybody have their questions answered and information available to make an informed decision. So Councillor Armstrong, you would agree to postpone your motion to the October 5th board meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on, I believe that would have to be a motion on the motion, I believe.
Well, I'll just put a motion on to lay it on the table till the 5th of October pending information.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on Councillor Armstrong's motion to postpone? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. And then perhaps it might be prudent to put a motion arising directing administration just to request, and we should probably clarify if there's any specific information that we're looking for from the Handy Bus Board, that they could bring it to that meeting for our review and analysis.
Be interesting
Does
to know.
anybody have anything specific?
I'd
I'd like to know who's on the board. Like, are we?
Well, we know
Listed?
who's on the board. We've put them there. We haven't got anything from them telling us that our members have been asked to leave. So
Just a question why we're not being involved right now.
that's not our question to ask. It should be the member's question to his board, where we don't want to get mixed up in their board business. So I think we leave that to the.
Okay.
Yeah, and mindful that we are like September 21st, I guess there's a chance that there hasn't been a board meeting since June 6th. And I agree, Councillor Armstrong. I think Councillor Wilson could look into that and confirm that. I've heard some discussion around data on, and I've heard this in previous council meetings as well, data around perhaps number of users of the handy bus, residents of the handy bus, like where they live.
So the motion.
And then I know we've discussed.
Just the motion should be then to the questions that came up at the regional partnership, plus the questions that come up here today about the ridership, and if Handy Bus would clarify those questions, then council could move forward with their decision. Because there was some questions brought up by members of the regional board that needed some clarification, and I think that's the ones we need answered. And then with Tom's question on the ridership, then I think the administration should have enough information to send them something to ask them for that information.
So sort of number of clients, number of trips, and then it might be prudent, I know we've done this with other organizations as well, just some information about the financials, reserves, budgets, and sort of year-to-date actuals and those types of things. I don't know, is that council's, is there any interest from council for that?
Yes, definitely.
So perhaps a motion, and I'll just float this, I'm not making it, but do we want a motion directing administration to request that the Strathmore Handy Bus Board present to council on October 5th, including detailed information regarding ridership, including sort of number of clients, number of trips, and where the residence is of the clients, and then as well sort of current operating and capital budgets, reserves, and some of maybe their last financial statements or something.
I'm just trying to remember Darcy's question to him about the finances, and he said the numbers didn't work. I didn't work them out, but he said the numbers didn't work, so there was a question from this group for more information, and I think that needs to be part of it.
Yeah, we had sort of a partial budget, and I know the request for financial sort of support from the municipalities at the Wheatland Regional Partnership, which was more aimed at the county and the villages, and then they were doing a separate memorandum of understanding or an agreement with the town of Strathmore. I think it created excess revenue when you looked at rider fees and donations that they had received year to date, and then when you added sort of the financial requests. I think that's where some of the questions at the partnership meeting were, but I think we could get that information if we had operating and capital budget, year-to-date financials, and then the last year's financial statements. And if I'm off base or if I'm missing something, please, anybody jump in.
Yeah, I'll just jump in quick because I did watch that meeting on the town when they presented the handy bus presented their request, and the town did deny them the funding they were asking for and matched the funding that they did last year. So there was no increases, just for everybody's knowledge.
Is there an interest to put a motion on the floor?
Well, the only one that's on the floor now is the one where I laid the motion aside till the November meeting or October meeting.
I think we voted on that, but please, somebody correct me. Margaret, did we vote on the first motion?
Yeah, I think we did.
Administration through the Reeve. So I believe what we were, council was doing was just kind of going through the information on the motion of what they would like at that presentation on the 5th. So right now what I do have on my brief notes I've been kind of writing down is the ridership information, the number of trips, the last financial statement and the operating and capital budget, and any type of year-to-date information that they may have. So all of that should be captured.
Yeah, and I believe we voted. I believe we voted on Councillor Armstrong's motion to postpone the approval of the contribution to October 5th. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That has been voted on.
Okay, perfect. So now Council's wishes on a motion directing administration to invite the board to present on October 5th and provide the information that we've just discussed. Is there an appetite from Council?
I'll move that.
Is that Councillor Eichert?
That's correct.
Councillor Eichert has moved. Open the floor to questions and discussion. Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. We do have a 10:30 appointment. I'd like to welcome Wendy Gerbrandt,
Can we get
Community Economic Development.
Can I get a 5-minute recess?
Absolutely. We will reconvene at 10:52 according to my time here.
Mute off.
Okay. Good morning. Is everybody back?
I believe so.
We'll call the meeting back.
I'm here.
I'd like to welcome Wendy Gerbrandt, CED Officer for Community Futures Wild Rose, and she's going to present to us on the Community Business Investment Partnership. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, Reeves Link. How are you?
Wonderful. Welcome.
Super. Thank you very much for having me this morning to present on the Community Business Investment Partnership to yourself and the Council. So I trust the presentation is all in front of you. Am I correct in that?
That's correct, Wendy. It was included in our council package, so all councillors will have it there for the public.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so again, thank you for having me. I'm Wendy Gerbrandt with Community Futures Wild Rose here out of Strathmore, and I'm here to just share some information on the Community Business Investment Partnership Program that we are relaunching based on a revitalized version of our previous Community Business Beautification Program. So I'm here to share some of the information on what the program is, what the objective of it is, how we're hoping to engage our municipalities, to help build some relationships with our businesses and to really strive for the overall benefit of the businesses in the community and how they impact. So I will begin just to start open with what is the Cbep program. So Cbep is a collaborative initiative between Community Futures Wild Rose and our shareholder communities, such as Wheatland County, to provide an opportunity for municipalities to invest directly into their businesses. Through this partnership, our municipalities provide their business with an interest-free grant on loans up to $10,000 over a 3-year term. Essentially, municipalities will establish a budget that they wish to allocate to the program, and they provide input and guidance and acceptance of eligible projects. So as this program has been rolled out, it's really used to drive economic development within that said region. So we're working to drive the economic development priorities established within your department and approved by council, and providing this interest-free grant back to the businesses after a 3-year term. And the whole goal with the objectives of the program is really to strengthen that relationship between the municipality and the businesses. So by providing the access to the capital, the businesses are able to remain competitive in their marketplace, and which ultimately result in growth and expansion. So some of those objectives are for the community. So it's a way for municipalities to show support to local business owners by expressing gratitude for what they contribute and bring to the community. On the investment side, the program allows for businesses to explore their potential and helps them to continue to be a fixture in the community for the long run. From the business side, as an accepted applicant, they will have funds available to them to upgrade the appearance or functionality of their business, which ultimately the goal is to increase their sales and revenue. And then as a partnership, the big objective there is to build the partnerships between CF Wild Rose, municipalities, and the business, and ultimately giving back to the community. Some potential projects through these objectives are, one, they could be to improve the exterior of the building. So maybe they need to do some window or door replacements, or refresh through some paint on the outside. Maybe they just need to do a full exterior cleanup of the business location. Where we added some improvements to the program is we're now allowing for some ability to do some interior improvements as well. So maybe they need some new paint, flooring, or shelving, or additional, maybe some furniture or whatever they need to improve the beautification of the inside of the building. The other improvement that we've added to this program now is the option to upgrade technology. We're seeing that increasing importance to be digital, to be upfront in the minds of the consumer, to be searchable. So maybe they need access to a redesign of a website. Maybe they need to upgrade their point of sale terminals, making it a lot easier to do sales transactions from either an online perspective or through visitation to the store. So those are just some examples that businesses and municipalities can set the parameters around the Cbep program. So how it works, once council has adopted this, and this is something that they want to partake in and support, we work out an agreement between us and CF Wild Rose on how we're going to lend those dollars. And we have some formalized templates that we can work with the municipality on. So once that process is established, we create a business application for the businesses to apply. That application comes directly to us as the CF. And within that, they can lay out a plan for how they're planning their project, right? So they can go over, up to the $10,000. If they choose to go over, they would have to find a way to fund that themselves. But for this loan, it's up for $10,000, and they can amortize that over a 3-year period. CF then pre-screens all the applicants. And we ensure that through the agreement that we signed with the municipality, that application meets those requirements. Okay, so how they're spending it, when they're spending it, etc. We use our lending policies to help adjudicate the loans in which we're supporting. So we still ensure that there's a certain level of character and credit, that we're being mindful that the applicant has the ability to also pay the loan back. Okay. Upon completion of the loan, and the business has paid this loan off over 3 years or sooner if they so choose, it is at that point we notify the municipality that the loan has been paid in full, and the municipality reimburses directly to the business the cost of the interest that was paid. So essentially every month they're paying the principal and the interest to CF Wild Rose. We notify you, you then pay back that interest to the business. So that's how the flow of the transactions occur. And at the close of that loan, ultimately, benefits feel valued in their community. They're thriving. They've innovated. They've cleaned up their space, or they've made some additional improvements. And, we've cleaned up a main street or a business park, and we've just gained further access to market. So that's really the gist of how the partnership works and how we provide support to the businesses. So again, on the capital and the reporting side, CF provides the capital. We provide our municipality with regular reports and updates as to the progress of the loans and the projects. We also provide and have access to a marketing toolkit, so we can work with the municipality to determine how you want to market this initiative. And we're getting really innovative in finding some different ways to reach these businesses. And at that point is when we look at our budget between yourselves and CF Wild Rose, and we determine what is a reasonable way to market this initiative, and we assign some budgetary dollars to it. And we work to co-op those dollars with you. Okay. So I'll go over what the cost is to participate in this partnership to the municipality. So as an example, if Wheatland County provided access for businesses for the interest for 1 year, over 3 years, at a principal amount of $10,000, that interest cost is $789.54. So as I mentioned before, the municipality reimburses the cost of that interest back to the business at the term of the loan. Okay? The municipality establishes the budget. And what we're seeing right now is the two municipalities that we've engaged with in this partnership, they're doing 3 loans a year. So they have about $2,500, give or take, that they're putting to this budget for this partnership program. So it's really up to you what's in your budget that you want to set. And then, of course, you want to consider some marketing dollars to offset that. And I would say on average, most of our marketing costs are really going to boosted social media campaigns, or if we decide to do a Canada Post mailer, that would be where the bulk of the cost would come from, if any. The outcomes of the program, and I'm just going to recap how we started, is really to show local businesses that we're here to support. We want to grow our communities. We want thriving businesses. On a commerce side, when one business is able to attract customers, other businesses also benefit from that foot traffic, right? So it's working together collaboratively. And the future of our communities. So businesses that are made to last, therefore these establishments are here for many years to come. So through Cbep, we really hope to invest in their success and to ensure that they remain competitive in the marketplace. So that's an overview of our Cbep program, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have or any clarification on any items that you have.
Excellent. Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for the presentation. Are there any questions from council?
Wendy, it's Councillor Urquhart. I'm just wondering, do you have any feel for how many people would be accessing this if it's available?
Right. So that's That's a great question. This is a new one for us. Now, I can go historically on our CBB program that we have done in, like, Three Hills has been kind of our flagship municipality, and they've done really well with this program. And I think on average, like, there's been times over 3 years we're doing about 10 loans on the CBB front. So it just really depends on the size of the municipality. From what I'm seeing right now, I think there's going to be a big need, especially as this digital transformation era is upon us. So we do see some increase in need for that. Now, that being said, there's also a lot of supports out there to help businesses get online for free. So we're trying. I wish I could say that, we have a huge demand, because I don't know what the demand will be yet, Councillor Eichert. What I can say is the efforts that we are putting out currently with our municipalities, we are getting some interest and hits on our website. So that's the best I can answer. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Armstrong here. This is a weird question, but it runs around in my head, so I got to ask it. Is this also eligible for agriculture?
Absolutely. That's right. So it's not just meant for the main street. So we actually just signed on with Nehill County, just as of 2 days ago, actually. We signed our agreement. And it's also meant for those home-based business improvements, right? But they do have to show proof that they are operating a business out of there. So it's meant for when people are coming to the location and they need those improvements. So many of our producers have on-farm markets or stores, and they need the ability to refresh it and enhance it. So absolutely. And that's up to the municipality on what you want to set for that.
Oh, that when you're saying that means market gardening and that type of thing.
Yeah, that could be completely eligible, right? Not so much for the garden itself. I would say if it's like a storefront location, right? So if they have an on-farm store and they need to do an improvement, that to me would be an eligible project expense. But say if it was to build their garden, I would say no.
So if they
So something like a rancher doing on-farm.
If they have a fruit stand on the side of the road, does that qualify as buildings that they could use to upgrade and do some?
It's really what you guys want to set to it, right? So if you feel that corner market that is there on the roadside is worthy of that investment, then that would be a parameter that you would set on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Wendy. It's Donna here. There would be monthly payments to this loan, I take it?
Yes.
And if there was inability to pay, is there things in place for that?
Yeah, we would follow our loan protocol. So if there's, so we do monitor.
Go ahead.
Oh, we got a delay. We do monitor the loan process through our loan policy. So if we don't feel that they have the capacity to pay the loan, we don't issue the loan, right? So we have to ensure that we adjudicate our loans in accordance to our policies and our lending policies. So absolutely. Yeah, if they don't have capacity, we don't issue the loan.
So just for council consideration and context, and Wendy can correct me if I get this wrong, I don't sit on our loan subcommittee, but we do have strict protocols around collateral and securities, and that would be applied to these loans as well. Is that correct, Wendy?
Yes, that's correct. We don't ask for a business plan for these loans, but we do ask for a project plan. And I have developed a project plan template to provide some assistance in helping them think through on their project, just to ensure that it meets the requirements and that we know those funds are going to the project that they've outlined in their application.
Any other questions for Wendy?
think we've got it all. Am I correct in saying that, Amberling?
Yes, you bet, Wendy. On behalf of council, we appreciate the presentation, and conversation may continue. I don't know if you can just stay on the line. Council, is there an appetite to consider this program, or what is the feeling of council? What are your thoughts?
I would move that we take it as information for now. Thank you. I don't want to make a decision on it today. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on Councillor Armstrong's motion to receive for information?
Just one question maybe for Wendy. It's Glenn here, Wendy.
Yes, hello.
Hi. When we decide, or if council decides who gets the money, how big of a process is that? Do we want to put so much for storefront like we hear for maybe a market garden, or we just want to have tire shops to get it? Or how detailed is this process?
I would probably, my recommendation would actually be start on this based on your economic development priorities. So if you're trying to achieve X, then I would go in maybe with a focus on that. But then that being said, then anytime your priorities shift or change, you're also closing up the door for potential opportunity. So I would consider trying to leave it as generic as possible, and I'm happy to provide some information on some other agreements we have set up, so that you can get a better idea into what the potential for it is. So leaving it more general might be the best way or the best approach. So whether it's agriculture, you want to focus on on-farm stores or businesses, but you also still have your small hamlets, right, that also do have businesses in there as well. So I would look at what is it that you're trying to achieve, and then gear the application towards that.
So would it make sense, like we have an economic committee, would it make sense for them maybe more to deliberate on it, or to come up with a set of goals, or how this policy that they would elaborate on help them to achieve these goals?
Absolutely. That would be a great conversation. And I could even represent back to that Economic Development Committee as well.
I would see that as a positive step, because then a committee kind of council can trash it out or talk about it. Maybe they see a use, maybe not, and then they can present to council, and it would be, for me, it would be a considerable help.
For sure, I like that approach. I think that's a great tactic, and I'd be happy to sit with the Economic Development Committee to go through this process with them. I know I had spoke to the economic development team, and they were really keen on presenting this to council. So I think there's some support and appetite for it. It's just, what does it look like?
Excellent. Any other questions or comments from council?
Wendy, if it was a limited amount, like we could set those parameters too, like how many would get it. How would you deal with that? The first 5 applicants or whatever. How would that look?
Right. So if you only set, as an example, 3 loans per year for the interest-free portion, then we have to cap that, right? And we could set it as first come, first serve. So 1 comes in, 2 comes in, 3. Now, if we get 5 all in at the same day, then we would have to have a discussion on a process of who is going to get the support or not, based on what you're trying to achieve. So, you know, we could look at establishing a matrix as well based on the project criteria. I would say it's pretty unlikely that you're going to get 5 applications in on one day. I'm saying most likely you're going to get them in over a period of days, right? We can still lend more money at the $10,000 mark. It just means that you guys will be capped at that interest return portion, right? So we can still lend out the money for the project. They just don't get the interest-free grant option.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? And Donna, or Councillor Bigger, from the Economic Development Board perspective, would you be comfortable if Council did sort of refer this to the board for further consideration to bring back to Council?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I don't even know where our next meeting is, though. November. And then we can bring it back after that.
Any other questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed to receiving the presentation for information? Motion is carried. Would council like to consider a further motion just requesting that the Economic Development Board review this presentation with Wendy and bring back a recommendation to council or something along those lines?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Kester has moved. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. Once again, thank you so much, Wendy, and we look forward to seeing what Community Futures and our Economic Development Board bring back.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and I'll be sure to follow up with Matt on the process for that. Is that where I should lay my contact with him?
Yep, that would be a great start. He'll make sure that you get connected to the right contact point.
Okay, wonderful.
Thanks, Wendy. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wendy.
Question to administration. I see we have an 11:30 appointment. Is the representative from the Drumheller and Area Health Foundation on the line?
She is actually here in person. She's in the lobby waiting.
Could we check if she would be prepared to present just a little bit early?
Yep, I will go check right now. Did you guys have anything included in the package at all?
Just our presentation.
Oh,
was
okay, it's
in
already
the
up there.
package. So where is it so I can manage it?
No, wait. Is that you?
Well, this is me.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there any way we can bring it up as a show, or does it show up as a PDF?
It just shows up on the PDF, but
Okay.
the council will have it on their screens in front of them.
Okay,
And he'll kind of follow along and go from there.
So for me, just so I can run through it with them, I just scroll. Okay, perfect. And is it all right if I take my mask off to present? What are the new rules? I never know. Okay, we're distanced. So, good morning. Thank you so much for having us here today. We really appreciate you taking some time to let us speak to you today. My name is Tricia Hampton. I'm the Executive Director of the Drumheller Area Health Foundation, and with me is our Treasurer, Gary Crabson. He is also one of the Wheatland County representatives on the board. And Mary Marshman will be joining us here shortly. She is also your other representative, but she is brand new on the board, so we've asked her just to come today and take in the information. Yeah, so she'll join us here in a moment. So I always like to start the presentation just giving you a little information about ourselves. I've put here our vision statement. We'd like to see an engaged community enhancing healthcare in our area. Our mission is we actually seek and administer the funds for purchasing equipment or anything that enhances healthcare in Drumheller, but also in the larger region. We are a registered charity. We do give out tax-deductible receipts for donations, $20 and higher. We do support the Drumheller Health Center. This patient area that they serve goes all the way to the Saskatchewan border in like the special areas, as well as west towards Three Hills, north towards Stettler, and then south, of course, here in Wheatland County in the Highway 1 Strathmore area. Hi, Mary. Welcome. So one of the biggest things you need to know about the foundation is we fund equipment that is not covered by Alberta Health Services. So not everything that the hospital needs is administered by Alberta Health Services. So we actually raise that funds to bring those kind of equipment needs to the hospital. We also do things like staff education and encouraging people to look at education pieces for nursing and that sort of thing. So you'll see here we have the Dr. Aiello Education Fund. It was set up in honor of Dr. Aiello, and basically it just allows staff to apply and get reimbursement on various programs that allow them then to further their education in what they're doing at the hospital. And I'll show you an example later of how that has benefited the hospital. And then as well, we administer the Gay Ross Memorial Nursing Scholarship. So that's for students who are entering or already in the registered nursing program, and I'll talk to that in a little bit later as well. We also administer and maintain the hospital gardens behind the hospital. So on the west side, which is sort of thought of as the back side, we've actually put in gardens there, and during the pandemic that has been really important because we've had a lot of outside visitation there, both for our palliative care unit as well as for our continuing care unit. So we've really made that a priority over the pandemic to make sure that's looked after and that it's beautiful. The foundation also operates the ATM inside the hospital. The reason we do that is for service, first of all, because we do have the continuing care residents. We want to ensure that they have that ability to have access to cash. And then at the same time, we do charge a small fee of $2, and that allows us to put some of that money towards our operations. So donations and funding. Donations are a big part of what we do in the foundation. You'll see here with individuals, we often get the memorial donations. So we see a lot of those that come through. We've also had various corporations and businesses come on board to help us with equipment. Recently, we got a portable ultrasound that we needed to replace, and we had various businesses and community groups come together to help us do that. So you'll see here I put community and nonprofits. We do have various organizations from Rotary to Elks and the auxiliary itself. They all help contribute to, allow us to buy the equipment that we need. One thing that's really important to know is donors can actually specify where their donor dollars go. So if they want it to go to dialysis or to recreation therapy or to a specific piece of equipment, we give them that ability to designate their funds when they donate. So they know where exactly their money is being spent in what area. Donations over $500 we do recognize on the donor wall. There's a really small picture there. And actually we have to expand our donor wall wall right now because it's actually, we have more donors than what we can fit on the wall. So there's been a lot of people who have contributed, and we're really appreciative for what they've done for us. Additional funding, we do fundraising. We do get money through lotteries that we share with other foundations, as well as we do the casino. Grants are in play for us as well. We do apply for grants, and we also do some grant applications through AHS Foundation Relations as well. Fundraising, I did want to mention we've tried our best in the last year or so with fundraising, but we have found it a challenge. The things that we normally would do out in the public, as everybody is facing, community groups, everyone, it has been a challenge on how to actually do those kind of events and how to look at fundraising. We had to be a little creative, and this year we put together a solar light fundraiser where people could actually buy solar lights. We put them in our gardens. They were out there for our palliative care patients as well as our continuing care patients to see, and basically people donated for that fundraiser, and then we bought the solar lights to help them out and just give them some piece of light to have in this really diverse, strange time we're in. As well, the online raffle, we couldn't do a normal raffle with tickets, so we looked at doing an online option. So between the two of them, those two fundraisers netted us about $5,300. The reason I put that on there is I just wanted you to understand that we are trying our best to fundraise, but just like everybody else, we're struggling to see kind of those bigger items that allow us to get the bigger dollars for the fundraising. Now, equipment funded, I just wanted to kind of show you what kind of things are being funded. So recently, Rotary Club of Drumheller helped us secure funding for 48 new chairs. They're going in acute care, continuing care, and our waiting rooms. And you may ask, well, why is that such a big deal? Well, it's a really big deal for our staff. We have chairs that were cloth, and they're very difficult to clean. And so now with these new chairs, they have a really easy chair to clean. They can disinfect it easily. It reduces their time. They can ensure the staff make sure patients are taken care of, they're safe. So we're really appreciative to the Rotary for that donation. I had mentioned the portable ultrasound. That came together with several groups donating, so we're really appreciative for that. We've bought a fetal heart monitor that needed replacing. As well, we have here a shower chair motor. We needed to replace that for continuing care. We do buy small things like sheepskins for palliative home care patients. The sheepskins are something that they can have close to them. It doesn't irritate their skin, and it allows them to have that comfort when they're going through a really, really hard time. Mental health supports have also been supported this year. These supports were involved in children's programs as well as adult programs, so we understand that this is a really important thing during this time. Now, you'll also see here in 2020, I was just showing you some of the other things we've done. We've done some garden improvements, which I spoke to. We even had to put up a wood fence around the garden at palliative care for outdoor visitation. We bought iPads. The slings were purchased basically to ensure that every single continuing care resident had their own sling, and we could ensure proper protocols and safety and cleaning. There was a stress test treadmill bought through Heart to Heart, and also a shower bariatric chair through the Elks. So you can really see the community group involvement is very important for us as well. You'll also see that Sarah Steady Lift and the cast cutter. So it just really gives you an idea of the kind of things that we help fund. The only reason I put in the 2019 is I wanted to kind of just show to you that we bought 2 critical care beds. People think of them as ICU beds, and a ventilator in 2019. That became really critical equipment going into the pandemic that none of us could foresee, and those pieces of equipment were very vital. So we were very appreciative that we could get that money together, have that stuff in place before the pandemic, and it really helped our hospital to have that equipment. And I'll also mention that vein finder. We actually had a private anonymous donor give that money, and it sounds so simple, but it was basically to allow, when you're going through cancer treatment, they always talk about how your veins hide, right? Because they know they're going to be poked. They don't want to be poked. out. And so to have something like this that can really help the patient find the vein when they need the treatment, the staff doesn't have to poke the patient more than they need to, it really helps bring that comfort level. And we're really big on how do we make that experience better for that patient? How do we enhance that care so when they're there, it's the best it can be, they're in the best comfort they can be, and really come out with a really good outcome. So that's always our focus when we're looking at these things. Now, in terms of education, I just want to say we're really proud to hear that our endoscopy program got special recognition for the quality of it through a plaque that was given to the group in June of 2020. Basically, they participated in a patient survey and they had the highest satisfaction rate, and therefore they got this award. So it was really telling of how when we do these pieces, what that translates into to patient experience. How the foundation was involved is we actually paid for the education for the operating room nurses to go to these conferences and get this education, and therefore they could pass that on to the patients and ensure they have a good experience. So this is showing you how we utilize the education fund to really enhance the patient experience. The next one is the Gay Ross Memorial Nursing Scholarship. That's a scholarship that we provide every year. It's $1,500. It's to a student entering or already in the program. So they do apply, and then we have a committee that literally evaluates all the applications anonymously. We don't tell them who the applicants are, and then the person who comes out with the best score is of course the one who receives the scholarship. So now this scholarship is in memory of Gay Ross. She was an exceptional registered nurse we had at the hospital. She was not only dedicated to nursing, but to her community. So we're really looking for that when we're looking at the recipient. We really want to see that their dedication to their career, but also to helping their community. So we do that every year. It has an application deadline of September 1st at midnight of every year. So that is ongoing. If you ever know of anybody who could take advantage of that scholarship, please keep it in mind and pass it along. So as we go into 2021, you've seen some of the different equipment pieces that we have funded over the last few years. So going into this year, we actually had the health center come to us and say, we have a really big need. What happened is we had laparoscopic operating room tower. We actually have two in our operating room, and both of them came to a point where they were in such need of repair that the repair itself was going to be more costly than the replacement. So therefore, they were able to get one in there, but what they need is the second one in order to keep up to the amount of surgeries and stuff that we are doing. So we are fundraising this year for this tower. It is a larger cost than normal, so it is that $160,000 is what it's going to cost. So all of our fundraising and efforts this year have gone towards that larger purchase that's necessary. So we've really prioritized it and said this is the one we need. And that's, I like to mention, you know, as soon as we're done this tower fundraising, our healthcare needs keep going and we'll be going on to the next thing. So we never stop when we look at how we can help out healthcare in our area. We do prioritize where we spend our money. We like to look at regional services. It's very important for us to keep things such as our operating room and our maternity open. We recognize they serve large areas, and that if we don't have those kind of specialized services in the Drumheller Health Center, then people are sometimes driving, you know, up to 2 to 3 hours to get that kind of care. So we do, as a foundation, look at those things and try to ensure we're helping the hospital keep those services running. So one thing I would like to ask of council today is, I have wrote it down here, but if there is any way that the council could consider providing some funding for that laparoscopic operating room tower, we would appreciate you taking a look at that. We do also appreciate you spreading the word. If you know of any community groups or anybody, businesses or anybody that might be able to help us out with that, we would really appreciate that, and we'd be happy to speak with them about a potential donation. This is a big undertaking for us this year, but we also like to see this met because we know how important it is for our physicians to have this, but also to ensure we give really good care when we're looking at those procedures. I like to always really bring it back to why we do what we do, and what we do is for the patients. So this lady is Charlotte Chernoff, and she was really great at being able to give us her story and share it with us and say we could share it publicly with others. So I will take a minute and I'll just read this to you. I had the best care when I had breast cancer 10 years ago, starting with Dr. Ulfred, being my family doctor and taking time to explain all my options. He was there for me to answer my questions and console me. Dr. Jordan did my mastectomy and even came to the hospital to see me a day after surgery. This does not happen very often in big city hospitals. I cannot say enough how lucky we are to have a cancer clinic available to us in Drumheller. At that time, Dr. Rass was in charge, and along with her staff, Tammy, Shauna, Audrey, and Wendy, I had great care given to me. Following chemotherapy a few weeks later, I ended up back in the Drumheller Health Center for 11 days because I had no white blood cells. I had the best care given to me by all the staff on the floor, plus the lab staff who came in daily to administer blood tests, which were not fun. Later on, Dr. Kushki was in charge of the cancer clinic, and both himself and the staff continued to give me excellent care with regular checkups. All in all, I couldn't have gotten better care than I did at the Drumheller Health Center, and I am forever grateful. Thank you. So this is just to give you an idea of how what we do, and this would be more specific with the cancer clinic, how that really benefits that patient experience for them and really allows them to also be close to home, close to family, and be able to really get the care that they need, but in a more local setting than having to go to the larger centers. And I also just want to take a moment here. Unfortunately, we are looking at our fourth wave of the COVID pandemic, and I do want to take a moment to really thank our healthcare workers. I've seen firsthand at the Drumheller Health Center how hard they're working. Whether or not they're dealing with COVID, they are dealing with the protocols. And I do want to give a big shout out to them, to the physicians, the nurses, from our cafeteria workers to our environmental services. They are all taking those protocols so seriously. They are looking after our patients and our community. And so we really want to give a shout out to them as well. They've been doing a great job through all of this. And we as a foundation appreciate them. So this comes to the end of my formal part of my presentation. So again, thank you for letting us have the opportunity to speak to you today. I'd love to hear if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to talk about. We're definitely here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tricia. Any questions from council?
Not a question, but just to thank you for coming in and making the presentation. I remember back a year ago, or a little over a year ago, and Gary phoned me and reminded me of that because I know it's down there. I know it's been down there for years, and I kind of forgot that Gary was the representative from council on there, and that's why I asked him if we could have you come out here and do a presentation for us, because a lot of our, not a lot of them, but a good number of our residents use that facility down there, and they use the equipment that's being raised for it. So we should be, thank you for doing that for us. And I will be putting something on the floor later, maybe not this meeting, but I will be talking to council about it. So thank you very much for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you. Yeah. And like I said, definitely we have, well, I have a personal example. Before the pandemic, I was in the hallway one day and a couple had come from Gleason and they said, oh, I'm trying to find where the operating room is. I'm here for a colonoscopy today. And I said, oh, okay, I'll guide you and I'll take you where you need to go. And it really helped reinforce for me how we have people come from such a wide area to that facility. And I'll be honest, I think a lot of it too is it is a smaller, more hands-on facility, so people feel that they're comfortable there and that they're also going to get the care that they need. So we're really feel privileged as a foundation to be a part of that and to help them do the work that they do.
And also thank you, Mary, for stepping up and representing the county and bringing our stuff forward for us. I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments from council? On behalf of council, I hope I'm not talking over anybody if somebody's not at a microphone. On behalf of council, I would echo Councillor Armstrong's comments. We're incredibly grateful for the work that the foundation has done. And as well, I would echo the thanks that Tricia, that you just spoke very eloquently to regarding all of the healthcare team and every piece of that team that is working so hard right now. On a personal note as well, very personal, I guess, a note of gratitude. I possibly spent some time in one of those new ICU beds in 2019, and I was overwhelmingly grateful for the care, and you nailed it. It was, a different level of care and compassion and kindness than what you experience in a city hospital or that type of thing. So incredibly grateful for that. Any other questions or comments? And I would also echo Councillor Armstrong's comments to both Gary and to Mary. Thank you both for the time and for your commitment to serving on the foundation board. I know it's appreciated. Council's wishes.
I'll move, we accept this information as information. Thank you.
Councillor Armstrong has moved to accept as information. Any questions or discussion? Is any councillor opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you to all of you for your presentation. We absolutely appreciate the information, and we will, without any question, be amplifying the messaging around the funding requests and just the work that the foundation is doing and the needs going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for spreading the word. We appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Just wondering where that voice is coming from. There must be somebody on Zoom looking around to see who's talking.
I'm so sorry. I am chairing the meeting from home today. I'm actually recovering from multiple surgeries and just was not quite ready to be back in council chambers today for council. So I'm sorry that I'm just a voice in the room, but I genuinely appreciate all of you being there.
Amber? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is Reeve Link. My apologies.
Oh, okay. I remember you as Amber. I remember you as a little girl.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is Amber. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that brings us to, and anybody feel free to correct me because my agenda is very scribbly. I believe that brings us to the end of our open session agenda items. We do have 3 closed session agenda items. If council is good with it, I would move that we move into closed session. Any discussion? Is any councillor opposed?